welcome to Stamping with Melva. My name's Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. So it's Sunday, and every Sunday I jump on and make a project. I hope you can hear and see me, and the people will be joining shortly. It's a beautiful day here on the West Coast and still pretty warm. So at some point we're going to cool down, but we're enjoying the heat for the moment. So today I thought I would make a floating strips card. Now I think I've made one of these before. I don't remember whether I've actually done it in a live, but this is a really fun way to use up your designer series paper or strips of cardstock that you might have lying around. Now you do need window sheets, and so Stampin' Up! Has great window sheets. They're 12 by 12, and so you do need some window sheets to do this technique. But I thought it would be fun to use. I'm using the designer series paper from I believe it's called A Wash in Beauty, which is in the annual catalog. I don't have the bundle. All I have is a designer series paper. It's so pretty. And so I thought I would use it. And colors I haven't used for a while, like rich raspberry. I haven't pulled out of my drawer. So I'm going to show you how to make this. I'm actually going to make enough of this floating DSP so that I can use it on other cards. Hey Nancy, welcome. All right, I'm going to switch over to my desktop and I will get started and show you how to do this. It's really not a hard technique. All right, I'm going to use the Sending Smiles. That's what my sentiment is going to come from. But as I said, so this is a great bundle, and I love the fact that you get this. You can stamp the sending, or you can cut it out from cardstock, but you can also cut out the sending once you've stamped it. It's really fun. And then there is a ton of sentiments that you can use and make use of. So you can mix and match these sentiments. We played a game on a live, or our virtual launch, I think it was in June, where we had people try and make as many different combinations as they possibly could. And so by using the masking paper that we have, or a piece of washi tape, or a piece of Post-it note, you can actually mask off part of these and create your own sentiments as you need them. And then, of course, there's these great flower images and dies that go with it. So that's what I'm going to use for my sentiment. Okay, so as I said, let's bring this in. I have gone ahead and cut, if I bring them in, a whole bunch of strips of 1/2 inch by 6 inch designer series paper from the A Wash, I think it's called A Wash in Beauty. I should have looked it up, from the annual catalog. And the colors are Rich Raspberry, Mossy Meadow, there's some yellow, must be Daffodil Delight or So Saffron, Blushing Bride, looks like Calypso Coral, maybe Granny Apple Green. So lots of really, Balmy Blue, lots of really pretty color combinations in these. So I've got, these are 1/2 inch by 6 inches. And the only reason I cut them 6 inches long was because I'm going to make a bigger piece of this floating technique so that I can use it. Now, I'm not sure you can see this. This is a piece of window sheet. This is 6 by 6. I think it should be 6 by 6. That was my goal. 6 by, no, it's not 6 by 6. Oh, that's okay. My plan was to create it 6 by 6, but that's okay. I didn't quite get it 6 by 6, but if you do it 6 by 6, it would actually make more than 2 cards of the way I'm going to cut this. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is go and grab quickly another piece. Right, yeah. Here's a package. I'll cut another piece. Oh, that's loud. Brand new package of window sheets. So you can see that the window sheets come, I think there's two 12 by 12 sheets in a package. Cuts really easily from with your paper trimmer. There's a fair amount of static on them. Just get them out of the way. So I'm going to cut this 6 by 6. That way I can really make the 2 cards that I was hoping to make from from this technique. Okay, there we go. So now I've got a piece. Let's put this back so I don't lose it. Now I've got a piece that is 6 by 6. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to line up your window sheet so that you've got kind of grid lines so that these strips get adhered. So that's the first thing we're going to do is we are going to adhere these strips to the window sheet. So mine are 1/2 inch by 6 inches. Now you can either use Stampin' Seal, or you can use Stampin' Seal, or you can use your liquid glue, whichever you'd prefer. I am going to use liquid glue, and I'm just grab my silicone mat. So I don't want to get a ton of glue on these strips. But what I'm going to do is just take, and using my grid lines, or you could use a piece of paper that you've pulled out from a notebook. So I am just going to line these up with the grid lines. So my grid lines are 1/2 inch. Make sure I get this piece to the edge. Once I get the first one on, I'll be able to see it. There we go. Okay, so there's my first piece that is adhered down. Okay, now I'm going to take another piece, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to just put a little bit of glue, and we're going to fill up this entire piece of window sheet. Now what I'm going to do is just move this down because I just want a little bit of room between my pieces. I don't want a full 1/4 inch. So I'm just kind of moving it down, and so that I'm going to have maybe a 1/16 of an inch between my pieces of designer series paper. And it's going to be a bit of eyeballing as I go through this. And I'm going to switch it up and just kind of alternate the colors. I cut a lot of strips because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Again, I'm going to pull this down so there's about a 1/16 of an inch. Try to keep it so that they're straight. And I'm just kind of keeping going down, gluing my pieces on. Let's find some other ones. Oh, that's pretty on the back. It's funny, I just haven't used this paper very much, and it's just so pretty. The whole bundle, the whole suite is pretty. I just don't have it. Can't buy everything. That's my theory. All right, I think I'm kind of getting off kilter here, but we're going to try and keep them straight. All right, let's put some green on. Hi, Lynette. Yeah, this is fun, Nancy. And if you do fill a full sheet, gosh, it would be great if you did a 12 by 12 sheet, and then you've got a ton that you could make a bunch of cards using this technique. I have made this before, and I'm not, like I said, I can't remember whether I did it on a live or not, or whether I did it in a class. And I used a circle die. So that's what I actually cut out afterwards. So this I'm going to cut a rectangle, and I realized I'm a little bit off on my lines, but that's okay. Let's see, maybe I don't think I want blue. Let's put another pink piece in. My card base for this is going to be Rich Razzleberry, and I've got a background. The first layer is going to be Blushing Bride. So I'm going to kind of keep it in the pink tones as much as I can. There we go. Now let's bring another piece of this really pretty paper. I've got one. This one, I guess. Yep. So I think it's that one. Oops. Oh no, it's not that one. It's this one. That's okay. This one will do. We'll do that one next. Okay, so another, move it down, keep it straight. So if you do have some paper that's got grid lines that are a little closer together, you know, that would help. Because I realized I'm kind of getting a little bit off here, but I don't think it's going to show. That's my theory. I'm trying to look at the comments. I have used a floating technique using the press and seal as well, Susan. I've done it with we used to have a stamp or a bundle called Floating and Fluttering, I think it was called, with butterflies, and I did the press and seal with that. I think this is an easier technique. I struggled with keeping the press and seal, getting it to work really well. All right, let's do another piece of this really pretty pink. So this is the part that takes the longest, just as you, that's why if you have a whole bunch of this that you do, if you make a bigger piece, then you can use these pieces on cards in the future. All right. And I think I need maybe one more strip. So maybe another green one. Let's finish off with green. Yep. Okay. I've got lots of strips here. I'm going to have to make some more. Oops. All right. So if I get my math sort of correct, which looks like I did, that piece fits right aligned with the bottom. All right, so while that dries, let's move these strips off. We'll save those for more cards. While this dries, before I cut it, I definitely am a little off. Okay, let's do some stamping and let's get our card started. So as I said, I've got a piece of rich raspberry cardstock, and I cut this 4 1/4 by 11. And I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. So if your piece is 4 1/2 by 8 1/2, you would score it at 4 1/4. As always, this is the side I score on. This is the raised line, so fold into that raised line. Use your bone folder. Okay. Now, I cut a piece of Blushing Bride that was 4 inches by 5 1/4. So the next thing that you're going to need is a piece of basic white. So we're going to adhere our strips onto basic white. Now, what you want to do is have this piece of basic white the same size as the piece that you're going to cut out of your strips. So if you're taking and making a circle, cutting a circle using a die or a rectangle or whatever shape it is, your basic white piece needs to be the same size as that. So for me, I cut a piece that is 3 inches by 4 1/4 because that's what I'm going to cut my strips. I'm going to cut a piece that is 3 inches by 4 1/4. Now, my strips, you can have your strips going vertically or horizontally. I'm going to have them going horizontally. So I'm going to cut a piece, and I've realized I'm going to have to trim this. So let me just trim this because it looks like I did kind of not get this completely even. So I'm just going to trim this and get a straight side. And so I am going to, what did I say, 4 1/4. I think I did okay. So let's cut the 4 1/4. And now I will cut 3 inches. And in theory, this gives me 2 pieces that are 3 by 4 1/4. This one's going to be a little bit smaller because I did trim. And I've got this extra piece here that I can use on another card. All right, and I'm going to trim this bottom a little bit because, actually I'm going to trim it with paper snips. I've got a little bit of window sheet showing at the bottom of this. So I'm just going to take and trim, and you probably can't see this, but just trim this little excess of window sheet that's showing at the bottom. So if you don't want to fuss with this the way it is, you know, trying to get it in a rectangle and get the window sheet not showing like I'm fussy cutting here, use a die and cut your shape out of the die. Okay, so I am going to trim my white as well. But that's okay, that's easy to do. Just take this, line it up, and just trim off this excess at the bottom. Just making it match. So, okay, so now you need some of the adhesive foam sheets. You could use, actually for this one, because my strips are 1/2 inch, you could use dimensionals as well. They'll fit along here. But your goal is you're going to put dimensionals. These are going to have to be trimmed. You're going to put dimensionals along these strips so they're not going to show when you put it onto your basic white cardstock. So I'm just going to take and cut. I've taken this. This is our strips are I think they're 12 inches long, and I think I've cut this so that it wasn't so long. And I just got some pieces here. So I only have so much room on my space where I do my filming, and so I kind of cut things occasionally down to size so that they'll fit. So basically, I'm putting some foam strips on each of the backs of these. It's not going to show when this goes on to our card base. As I said, you can use dimensionals if you don't have the foam strips. Whatever works. And I'm putting the dimensional on the foam strip on each of these because I don't want it to sag in the middle. I kind of want it to make sure I have enough support for this piece. There we go. And one more. So you could make your strips bigger than I've done, bigger than 1/2 inch. All right, so now I'm going to take the backing off. And we're going to adhere it down onto the basic white piece that I cut to be the same size. All right. All the foam strips. All right, so let's see if I can get this lined up. There we go. All right, so there's my set of floating strips. So now I can take and adhere this to my card base. Okay, so let's adhere this Blushing Bride piece down first. Again, this was 4 inches by 5 1/4. All right, and now we can adhere this. So if you wanted the Blushing Bride to show, you could just, I guess, adhere it straight down onto this piece. But I've got it with the white behind, so I'm going to try and get this roughly in the middle. Trying to make sure it's looking straight, even though my strips are a little bit off a little bit, I think. But anyway. Okay, there we go. All right, so there is the card base. And now I'm going to, oh, and I forgot a piece for the inside of the card. Sure, I got it. But, oh well, I'll have to do that later. So now I'm going to actually do some stamping. I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So I'm going to stamp in Rich Razzleberry. And I'm going to use the sending stamp. Block for that. Oops. And then I'm going to use the one that says a note of thanks. So let's stamp the sending first in Rich Razzleberry. Hope my piece is big enough. I'm having a hard time seeing. I'm going to have to grab a bigger piece of basic white. And while I do that, I might as well grab an extra piece so that I can do for the inside. All right, so that piece is not going to be big enough rather than me stress about it. Oh gosh, that's dark. I think I've inked up my Rich Razzleberry and haven't used it. It's a little bit better. Gosh, I really went to town on that. Okay, and now I'm going to stamp this a note of thanks. I'm going to do some fussy cutting. I'm going to stamp this in Blushing Bride. And I'm going to just use the thanks, and so that it's going to say sending thanks. All right, so now I'm going to take the sending and I'm going to cut this out using this die. And I like to use, if you've got Post-it note tape, which is what this is, it works really well. If you don't, a Post-it note or washi tape, just to kind of hold it in place as you go to cut. I'm going to just cut this. That was why I had that thin little strip. I was hoping, because I just got my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine here. So I need a smaller piece. And look at these new plates. Oh gosh. I decided after, I don't know if it was yesterday or what day it was, that I was making a card on my live, and it just didn't cut all the way through. And it was because my plates were warped, and it just wasn't, these cutting plates, if they get warped, sometimes you'll find that it just doesn't cut through. So I decided that it was time. Okay. So I'll take this out. Save that little piece. Okay, so there's my sending. Isn't that pretty? I just love that stamp and die. And now the note of thanks. As I said, I'm going to just take and cut this thanks. Just trim it up a little bit. Hopefully that will show. I'm a little worried that it's going to disappear, so I might have to rethink my thanks in a different color. Oh no, I think it's going to be fine. All right, so I'm not going to pop this up. I'm just going to use a little bit of glue, and I'm not going to put glue all the way across because this is wider than my foam the floating strips. So I just want it to adhere onto the floating strips. So I'm just going to take and put it kind of here. It's if I put any more dimensional on it, it's gonna not go into a regular envelope and not go in the mail for letter rate. So let's just keep it the sentiment flat. And then we'll just put the thanks right there. Okay, now let's cut a piece, oops, for the inside of the card. Since I grabbed this, so 4 inches by 5 1/4. It's my standard piece for the inside of the card. And since I have these pretty strips somewhere, I had some extra strips. Let's just take one and put on the inside of the card. Oh, that one's really pretty. I think I have. Every time I see that one with the pink and white flowers, I just kind of have to go with that one. All right, so let's do that one across the bottom. And we'll just trim off the excess, trying to get it straight. Again, use your grid lines on your grid paper. And if you don't have grid paper, and it's not just something that demonstrators can get, this one, actually no, this one is available as well. So, but you can buy a big stack of the white grid paper, and it's perfect for having on your space where you're working. Use it all the time. Okay, and then that can go on the inside. Okay, and then I grabbed some iridescent rhinestones for the embellishments. So let's just take your pick tool and add some rhinestones. These are so pretty. You can actually color these. So I could color these with, say, rich razzleberry. Let's put one there. I could color them with rich razzleberry or blushing bride, and it works really well. But in this case, they've got a pink tinge to them because they're iridescent, and I think that's pretty. And actually, I could have put one. Maybe we'll put one on the dot of the eye. This die is great because it keeps that dot handy. Sometimes the dies I like to have an odd number, and when I use it, so now I've got 5. Sometimes the little dot over the eye disappears if you cut things out, and so this is nice because it's all part of the same die. Right, so there's my card. So check this floating strip technique out. I'm going to make some more cards with these extra strips that I have. So if you make a whole sheet of them, save your strips, and you can use them on other projects. Thanks, Glenda. It actually is not too bad. All things. Hey, Sarah, welcome. I didn't know who that was. It said hello. Hey, Linda, welcome. Sorry, I'm just looking to see now who's actually commenting. I get kind of in deep thought as I'm creating my cards. I'm not looking over to see who's commenting. Yeah, so play along, try it and see if how you like this, and try different shapes. Cut out the floating circles out of a circle or a different shape, and try it. But I really love how this card turned out, and who knows, you might put an order in with me and you might be getting one of these cards as a thank you. So, all right, everybody, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a great day. I will be back live on Tuesday night at 6:30 with my sketch challenge, so I hope you'll join me then. Thanks. Take care. Happy stamping. Bye.